Okay, hello. Welcome back to Soul Light Reflections. Today I am joined by Ace on Earth, who is a phenomenal, amazing all-around human, but also is a DJ, a producer, a meditation guide, someone who is really bringing bass music and blending it with the conscious experience. We actually met on TikTok, and I love social media for that reason because it brings me together with some really amazing people such as him. And something that I love about his sets and his mixes are that they're not just about like the energy. It's not just about like moving your body. It's really about the intentional journey. He blends different types of subgenres of EDM, and he really understands this like conscious bass movement that I've been talking about a lot. And another thing about this really cool human is that he facilitates meditations and creative healing work. He recently launched a really awesome group all for like creatives to be able to share their passions, share their art. And so he really does such a good job of practicing what he preaches of sharing spirituality in different directions and making it really accessible for everyone. So I'm really excited to dive in with him. Welcome to Soul Light Reflections.
Oh, thank you so much for all the kind words. It's always like so interesting hearing about yourself and trying to just accept the compliments. So thank you for all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just so stoked that we were able to bring you onto this podcast. I feel like it's been such a long time coming since the very first time we had a Zoom call together. And it's just been so fun, even in the very short period of time that I've known you online, to like see the evolution of who you are. I love surrounding myself with people who also understand that that is the goal, right? Is constantly evolving and practicing what you preach and not just saying, I'm a spiritually evolved human, and I'm like trying to help other people with that. It's like, no, you're literally creating spaces for people to be able to do that for themselves in more ways than one. And it's super inspiring.
Yeah, it's been just like a really fun journey to be a part of. So like before I even did music, like meditation was always such a big passion and has helped me in so many different ways. And I would never really consider myself an evolved person. It's just like I'm always just like, oh, I'm just a chill guy that just wants to like offer this experience to people and like let them make their own conclusions, but ultimately just to kind of bring more joy to the human experience. Like there's so much chaos in the world around us, and it's like the more we can tap into our creativity and purpose, the things that we love, and especially in a community setting, it just like allows like so much a ripple effect of so many like good things for people to actually experience.
100%. I talk about the ripple effect, I feel like every single day in some way because it's so real. And I don't think enough people fully realize how much impact we are able to have on every single person that we interact with on a daily basis. And not just that, but like when we're having a positive impact on ourselves through the practices that we're doing or through the communities that we're involved with, how that changes our inner world and how, like you said, we're not walking around being like, I'm so evolved, look at me go. It's like a lot of times when it comes to spiritual practices and it comes to that self development work, we wake up like months later and we're like, whoa, I handled that situation differently than I would have before. Interesting. Cool.
It's interesting too, like so part of my journey was like learning a little bit of like shamanic energy medicine and different versions of that. And it's also like as you're healing your own self, like you're kind of also healing the past and like different areas of your lineage,
Mm-hmm.
and not passing that on forward for like the future as well too. And so it's also just really interesting, like you can start like tripping out on time and like how it can move in like all directions, but knowing that you are like moving into your actual purpose and how that is also affecting like your whole generational family line that can go just like really deep.
That is so true. And that's something that's been really alive for me. Like, as I'm in the final month of pregnancy, I've honestly been catching myself in moments of like, oh my God, I don't want to fuck up my child. Like, I really need, like, there's certain things I need to finish healing through, right? Like, I need to hurry up and finish, this chapter so that this doesn't get passed on to my child. And it's like, I think that we need to remember that just by us having an intention and working on something means that it's not going to get passed on, at least not in the same way that it was to us. And another thing is that I used to always tell parents when I used to work as an occupational therapist with like primarily new parents, I would say bad parents don't question if they're bad parents, like they just are. And I think the same thing goes for like being a human, like those of us that are really truly doing the work are honestly a lot of times going to feel like, oh my God, am I doing it right? Like, do I need to do more? What's going on? We're constantly checking ourselves and questioning ourselves. And sometimes, unfortunately, that goes the other direction where we start like really doubting ourselves or going a little too deep sometimes. But I think for the most part, it's good to have that mindset of like, I can constantly grow, I can constantly change, and wanting to.
That's for me too. Actually, like that last little piece, like kind of sums up my experience with learning music and why it's felt so fulfilling to like go on this music journey. Is like it almost feels like something that you never actually master and you never get fully there because there's like always another thing that you can do or another instrument that you can pick up. And I've tried so many like various forms of art like throughout my journey, and this has finally got to the one where it's like, oh wow, like there will never be a finishing point of this, and that like really excites me that there's like every day like something new to learn and experience and explore and keep growing with.
Yeah, I really like that mentality, and that's such a good representation. I'm like, what is it for me? Definitely just like podcasting and social media in general. Like, I feel like every time I look back, even a year or 6 months prior, I'm like, oh God, I would do that so differently now. But it's also cool to see that evolution and the difference and how you change and how you carry yourself differently. For your music journey, how long have you been producing music? And did you start with producing or did you start with just like learning to DJ?
Oh, that's a great question. So producing music, I'm approaching like 6 years at this point, which is kind of crazy to say. But I started as a DJ first, and I actually started as a like clothing designer first. And so in like my early college years, I kind of started a project with friends called Elevated Euphoria, where we had a clothing brand and it was all around like spreading positivity and whatnot. And I would do the designs for it. And naturally, to be able to sell things, we went more of the in-person route and started hosting events more catered towards like the hip hop crowd at that point. But we would host like local showcases for rappers and things like that. And in that process, we always needed a DJ. And quickly I learned a DJ controller cost about the same as hiring a DJ for an event. And I honestly always loved music. I was always like that guy that wanted the aux cord at parties and various things like that. So I was like, why don't I just buy one of those controllers for myself? And started exploring like that medium. And I was absolutely terrible at it at first. I remember vividly having a DJ gig at a bar where somebody actually put money into the jukebox and like played another song on top of what I was DJing
Oh
at the time.
no.
Right. But it was like, it just like kept me inspired. It was like a medium that I really loved. But I eventually hit a certain threshold where I started, like, I was going through a weird period in life and I attended a festival, like a small, like, local kind of like healing oriented festival, and saw somebody like DJ. And it was like, oh, I get it now. I get why people like this electronic music thing, and just kind of like started exploring it in that realm and realized like, if I want to do this DJ thing further, I eventually need to have my own songs, or like this is the end of the road of like where you can go and like playing other people's music. And so when we hit the old pandemic, it was kind of like I had that, look in the mirror of like, you've had this dream for a while now. And like, if you don't do it right now, you're never going to do it. So like, you might as well start producing. And that has been it was a crazy journey to get started, but it has been so rewarding now to kind of like be on the other side of it and be able to really feel confident in the stuff that I now share.
Your music is like, I mean, I feel like this. It is so transformational and has so much soul in it. And it's very evident how much intention you put into the music and how many lives you're literally changing just by them listening to it. It is wild. When you released like your latest mix, I sent it to my husband and he was like, "Oh my God, like what? Who is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is like someone that I met on TikTok." And I feel like I say that all the time. And he's always like, "All these people you meet on TikTok, like it's fucking awesome." He refuses to get on it because he's like, I would be way too distracted. But I love using it as a tool to find people like you. And then when you share your music out there and you share like your passions with the world, it shines so fucking bright. And it's just amazing. And like he literally told me yesterday, he's like, "Wait, you have your interview with Ace on Earth today, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, I just listened to the latest track he put out like on SoundCloud. It was like so amazing." And so that's the thing, is that when it comes to music, it's really cool because how far it can spread, right? Like, yeah, obviously that's my husband and I know you, but at the same time, like, then he shares it with another person. That person shares it with someone in Europe, like, who knows? And how quickly that vibration, that energy can spread is so powerful. And I feel like you are someone who fully understands like how complex and how beautiful that is and how powerful that is. And it's just like, I don't know, it just makes me so happy to know people like you who are not just, producing music for producing music. It's like, no, I really understand what I'm doing here and what my intention is. When you started producing music, was it like bass music or did you start producing in other genres first?
The intention was definitely, I think, always bass music. And so, like, before I produced anything, around that same time I went to the festival, maybe even a little bit before that, I was like taking energy medicine and sound healing trainings with like a local yoga school that I still go to. And so that really like started my sound process, if you will, like crystal bowls and taking people on shamanic drum journeys and all that. But then I always was like sitting there and kind of being like, I don't know if I fully see myself as this wizard in the middle with all these crystal bowls and like doing it in that way, which I still love them. But as I started to progress into it, I started to kind of see how I could blend these things that I was learning in like traditional sound healing with this like other reality I was exploring of like festivals and DJ stuff and like those sort of things. But when I first started producing, I was kind of stuck on the fence of like, do I want to be a house music person or do I want to be a bass music person? And I like lived in that mixed realm at first between the two. But then myself and my partner, we took a road trip to Colorado and Wyoming in like early, probably 2021 or 22, like whenever things were first starting again, and went to like Closey through a little festival at like this ranch in Wyoming. And it was like Closey, Ellis Dream, and there was like a whole bunch of other really dope people. And that experience, and especially just being in Denver and like that whole atmosphere, I was like, okay, I'm a bass music person 100% now. And I've never considered doing house music ever again after that.
That definitely makes sense. I mean, they call it the bass capital of the country for a reason. Something so interesting to me, this is like a side tangent, but I was recently talking to the DJ Zingara, and she was saying, we were talking about conscious bass, right? And like intentional music. And she was like, what's crazy is that Closey has no idea how much like spiritual energy she puts into her music. She just makes it. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? I always for sure thought like Closey knew, right? But to hear that Closey is one of those people who has no idea that her music is like that like elevated of a level is wild to me. I think that that just speaks to the energy of the person at that point and what just their general energy they're putting into their music, and it just comes out that way. Personally, I feel like there are other artists that are very similar, like Ashes is another one. He's an amazing human, but and like they're a little bit spiritual, him and his girlfriend, but I feel like he has no idea just how much is like coming through his music. And so it's really cool to see that duality between people like you who are like, have a background in sound healing and meditation and like really know how to take someone through that intentional journey and want to put that intention into your music, and then people who just make music and it turns out that way. Because I think there needs to be like a balance of that, right? Not everyone can be like, I'm intentional and I'm putting this in there for this and I'm putting this, frequency in there for that. And because otherwise everything might start sounding the same.
Yeah, and I can like honestly share a little bit more on how that can even happen. So like in my studies of sound, it's like sound is a carrier of intention, right? So a lot of times, and I become so sensitive to this where like if I'm at an event or a festival, I can like kind of like feel the artist's ultimate intention and like this person just wants to be the loudest, weirdest person in the room and have this massive ego and it's like all about them. Or someone like Closey, for example, she might not be a levitating guru meditator, but she might like be making beats and be like, you know what, I really want to bring in this experience I had in the jungle and like get people like they're going on a journey and like so it's like people like that. It's like you're able to kind of like take your human emotions and then put them into a track. And that's like ultimately what I always love is like when someone is like putting something deeper into it other than just the personal gain or reward that you can get from like being on stage in front of people. And it's like so interesting. I almost think like the conscious artist, it's like they are creating music for the betterment of like the crowd that are in front of them and giving them an experience. But also it's really easy to kind of abuse that position of power and be like, I'm up here as the guru and you need to worship me. I've seen artists literally like make people get on their
Yeah.
knees and like pray in front of them. And I was like, this is too much for me. It's too much. So it's like there's such a fine balance when you're on front of people. And I think the ones that cater their experience for like community connection and deeper emotions are the ones that me and you are probably resonating with, right? Like,
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's such a fine line, especially in this day and age with like quote unquote new age spirituality, where some people really are just looking for that power, looking for that ego trip. And it's unfortunate because I agree, I can see right through it nowadays. I'm just like, not even just in music, but just in general. It's like, no, I'm good. Like, I can see through that, which I'm very grateful for. And sometimes I genuinely go too far down the rabbit hole and just get like annoyed because I'm like, how dare you? Like, you are taking advantage of people and this is so wrong. But like, what am I going to do about it? You know, like people need to wake up on their own and recognize that. Yeah, I could go on forever about that and how like people in positions of power, whatever that may be, whether it's on a stage or whether it's just having a really big platform on social media or something, or obviously like politicians and stuff, like it's just crazy to see the ones that take advantage versus the ones that are genuinely here to help humanity. And I do believe that more and more people are starting to wake the fuck up. Like, I really do. I think that it's a beautiful thing to watch. It's a hard thing to watch in some aspects because there's also a lot of like really bad shit going on. But I think that people are on their way to being more discerning. And I think that that is honestly a big part of that is the fact that EDM is becoming a lot more widespread. And the community around EDM is all about plur, right? That peace, that love, unity, respect, and the extra R responsibility. And I think that some people are like, oh, the EDM scene isn't what it used to be. Like, all these newbies coming in, da da da. Like, they don't understand plur. And I'm like, then fucking teach them. Like, tell them what it's about. Like, don't just sit here and gripe about it. And I think it's really cool because even so my husband and I had a festival as a wedding, and my parents, who do not listen to EDM whatsoever, came away from it being like, oh my god, I miss the festival scene. And my mom listens to EDM all the time now. And
that's
like even
awesome.
just seeing that shift from like my Catholic conservative mom coming to a festival and being like, oh shit, I get it now, is like, boom, we fucking did it, you know? And that's happening all over. It doesn't have to be obviously like a festival wedding for that, but people are having micro experiences similar to that where a friend introduces them to an EDM song and they're like, oh, wait, I don't hate EDM. And then they maybe start finding their own experiences through music. And then I feel like a lot of people start gravitating more towards bass music and then find this like different type of sound design of this conscious bass subgenre. And that's where things really start like going off for them. Like they're like, oh my God, I get it now. Like I understand and something's changing within me, but I don't really know how to explain it. And I'm like, you don't have to. You literally don't have to have the words for it because it's doing the work for you.
I think it's so interesting too that you brought like how your mom kind of like started accepting it. I think it takes such a like almost a live experience for somebody to like truly understand what electronic music is capable of doing. Like even for myself, before I first experienced that like festival where I saw electronic music live, it was always like whatever, like these are just beats, like it doesn't matter. But then when you're in that space with other people and experiencing it like in like a festival wedding or a festival or a show or even a local event, I think it brings so much more to the table now. And I think what I've always loved and why I started gravitating towards it is like the spaciousness ultimately that electronic music provides that other genres don't. Like where it's a more instrumental driven experience, the audience is all free to kind of go on their own journey and like how, I mean, obviously the sound affects it, but not in the same way that, like I used to love rap and it's like whatever the artist is saying on stage is the experience that I'm having, and it's not always a good thing with this in hip hop. But now when it's more electronic, it's like it's more of a self-guided journey and it fosters more space for like conversation and connection and for people to go like deeper on their own terms in their own way rather than, all the other genres of country and hip hop and rock. It's like whatever the person is singing about is what's going on in the crowd. So that's why I think it's like so cool to do it live because then you really get that like, oh wow, we're in this together, creating something all simultaneously.
Oh, I love that outlook. That's so true because everyone is having, at any concert, everyone's having their own experience, right? But especially when it comes to EDM, I love how you use the word spaciousness. That is exactly like the best way to explain it. It's not just like, yeah, of course, some EDM has lyrics in it and stuff. But honestly, I would say overall, lyrics in EDM compared to any other genre of music are so clean.
For
Like genuinely, I could think of like the dirtiest EDM song and I'm like still cleaner than a lot of like country or hip hop like and not even just that, but the fact that like through the vibrations and the frequencies that come through electronic music, it moves like inner parts of you, like I said, in ways that you don't even understand and you don't need to understand. Something that I always come back to, which I totally agree with you, like the live experience is actually where it is because you feel that frequency so differently, unless you just have like kick ass fucking speakers and the perfect people around you and you're just listening to a song on your phone. But something I always come back to is at festivals specifically or outdoor shows, when you can feel the bass through the earth, I just constantly come back to it is us communicating with the earth and the earth is able to communicate back. Like to me, I always get these messages from the earth when I'm at like specifically like a bass set is when that deep bass hits and you can feel it through the earth coming up through your feet, through your entire system, the earth is just like taking a big ass exhale. Like, oh, like I need almost like a massage to the earth. Like it's us communicating with the earth and having that frequency shooting back and forth at such a like beautiful flow. And I don't think that enough people like realize that. And not that they need to necessarily, but I think it's just a really fucking cool thing.
yeah, honestly, that's like what keeps me going, honestly, more than anything is like especially when you get like the big bookings and you're on these crazy, crazy sound systems and you're like playing music that you created and you're feeling it. I remember like the first time I got to play Elements, it was like a 360 type of stage setup, and it was just like this insane wall of subwoofers. And I'm like playing these songs that, I'm in like an office like this making, but now I'm on like this giant sound system and it's shaking literally the whole earth. And I'm like, this is I don't even know. I might leave my body right now. I'm transcending time
I
and
have
space.
chills. Like that must be an insane feeling.
It's literally like why I keep doing it. Like I don't even need to get paid or anything. It's like if I could just shake the earth once in a while, I'm like,
I love that. You know, I got to pop into the middle of this episode to remind you about the amazing sale that we have going on for Lucid Hydration. LucidHydration.com, that is my husband and my business. Clean electrolytes, functional mushrooms, nootropic herbs, and we are trying to sell out of the product that we have currently so that we're not sitting on a bunch of stock as we take a little hiatus to welcome our baby girl into the world. Head to our website, lucidhydration.com. You get an automatic 30% off every order. And I just announced my next holistic wellness retreat happening in Sedona, Arizona, September 3rd to the 7th. I have a few early bird spots available. I would love to set up a discovery call with you to see if this is a good fit for you. We are going deeper than ever on this particular retreat, and I cannot wait. So make sure that you grab that early bird spot, only $222 down to reserve that spot, and then payment plans available from there. All right, back to our topic. I would love to hear, like, in your words, what do you feel like the difference is between like just general, like mainstream bass music and this like conscious, intentional style of bass?
it's a great question. I think it kind of comes back a little bit similar to what I was talking about earlier of like almost like the ego behind the person creating it and why they're ultimately creating it. So for some people, this is like a monetary gain or like or an ego gain, right? Like, hey, I'm in front of all these people and I'm making this music. And then I think other people, it's like more about like the community experience and like how they can impact people through the sounds that they're creating. So I look at like the difference between the two. It's like a lot of the mainstream bass artists end up getting canceled at some point because they do something that's like completely
Yeah, that's so
diabolical,
true.
where you don't necessarily always see that in like a conscious like artist person. So it all comes down to, I think, just like the ego and why you're creating the things that you're creating.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh God, rabbit hole with
We don't
that
have to go on that rabbit
one.
hole. We don't have to try to mention, people that get canceled. It tends to be
Yeah.
on the mainstream side.
Um, so coming to that intentional side of things, so obviously you have a background in like meditation and lots of different healing modalities. How do you feel like though that background influences the music that you make today?
It's like really ingrained into every single thing that I do and just my whole human experience as a whole. Like my life before like started getting involved in this journey and after is like two completely different realms where I was just like the shy, quiet kid, no confidence whatsoever. And then through the study of self and through these different like modalities and practices and manifestation and all this, it's like, oh wow, I actually get to like control the narrative of this existence I'm living, and I can literally do whatever I want to do with it at any point in time. And so this whole thing has always been like centered around that sort of experience. And then I guess I've always just wanted to be able to pass that on to more people, but in a way that is like really chill and allows them to like make those decisions for themselves. Not like a hey, look at me, I've liberated my mind. You need to do it too, but more so like hopefully this sound or these like ways I show up on the internet or whatever it may be might inspire you to then go like look deeper into yourself and find your own path with it as well.
I love that answer. That's really, really beautiful. And it just speaks to volumes to like who you are as a person and how committed you are to just being like a genuinely good human, right? And I think that like being able to take that ego out of what it is that you do and offer is not easy and so important and really beautiful to see in people. When you are like DJing a festival, for instance, what does it look like to you to like hold space for the crowd? Because you know that you're about to take them on this like transformational journey. Um, I guess this is like kind of twofold. Like, what does it feel like and look like for you to like hold that space? And then also, like, how do you protect your own energy as you're doing that so that you're not like depleted?
Yeah, that's like cool. And so I feel like this is where so part of my journey has been like Reiki as well. And I think this is where that like shines, especially of like being able to send energy out to people and then also like protect yours. But I think the first part of it in terms of like protecting your own energy, it's just being really grounded in the experience and like not getting too attached to the moment at all. Like it's not going to go exactly how you thought it was. Things are going to always be different. So just allowing them to be what they are and then knowing that like there's always going to be highs and lows on the journey. So it's like not just getting too wrapped up in the moment. Like this isn't going to be the only time that I'm on stage. Just let it be what it is and then kind of like move forward from it. In terms of like curating the space for the audience, that kind of I think just happens naturally. Like a lot of times when I think about the intention of the project, it's like let me create a safe space for connection and exploration. That's like what I say like when I pitch myself to events and all of that. And I just try to like naturally be that person. I don't try to put too much thought into like cultivating the space or I don't have to light Palo Santo on stage or do anything to be able to like allow this. It just naturally unfolds. And I think like the songs that I end up selecting and the journey that like I end up taking people on. And I really try to make each experience unique in that I try to really think about, what is the event? What is the environment that it's going to be in? What is my time slot? Who am I playing before? Who am I playing after? Right? And how can I take all of that information that I know in advance to try to pick songs that are going to ultimately fit like that present moment?
I think that that's so inspiring just how much you put into the planning process without like micromanaging it. I honestly wouldn't have thought to go that deep of like, okay, yes, of course, the time and what stage, but like who's playing before me, who's playing after me, like what type of people do I think are going to show up to this set? Like all of those aspects are so important. And I don't think that enough DJs, think in that way. They're just like, oh, okay, cool. I'm at this stage. This is like the base stage, or this is, whatever, this other stage. So I think that that really, again, just speaks to like the intention that you're putting in. And I love that you mentioned, like, I don't have to like light Palo Santo on the stage. I go crazy when people feel like they have to look or act a certain way to be spiritual. And yeah, of course, I love lighting my Palo Santo. I love wearing crystals, this and that. But like, I'm not doing it to prove like, oh, look at me, I'm spiritual. Like, I'm not wearing like a whole sleeve of bracelets because I just don't love bracelets. So like, it's like a lot of people are kind of performative when it comes to spirituality. And I think that that can come through a lot in certain artists, not even just in like the EDM community, but just like the spiritual community in general. And once again, at this point, I feel like a lot of times I can kind of see right through it. And it makes me a little bit sad because I'm like, you don't have to do that. You offer beautiful work to the world. You don't have to like look a certain way to do that. But I think that that's just such a good point, is that as long as your intention is there and as long as you are being like conscious about the experience that you're offering, you don't have to look or act anyway, because the music for a DJ or producer, your music is going to speak for itself. For an artist, your art is going to speak for itself. You don't have to perform. And I think that that's something that more people need to like fully understand, not even just like in the arts, but just in life.
Something else I wanted to add too is, especially in festivals, like this was a big learning throughout my journey of performing at festivals, is that so much of the whole festival experience is outside of your control as an artist. And also, if I think about myself as an attendee, so much of it is like this is a marathon of an event. Like there's so much of the, there might be artists that I love that I don't make their set because of like it just doesn't in the flow of like where my energy is going in that day or whatever. Also, there's just like always these different circumstances. So like I've had a set get canceled from a hurricane before, which was like a real disappointment, right? But then, and even last year, I was like had a really cool Renegade set time, and then it turns out like Pretty Lights was going to do a Renegade at the same time. So obviously the crowd was zero, right? So it's like you can't control like what's going to happen, and I think it's just really important to not like allow these different factors to bum you out in a festival setting, especially because so much of it is just the audience's like natural energy and like where the collective is moving as a whole. And it's not always like people don't care about you that much. It's just the full picture of their full weekend that they're really looking for. And so if you can just give one person like this moment in time, like whether that's one person or 1,000, like whoever shows up, it's just like a cool experience at the end of the day.
That's so powerful. If you can help one person, like literally, if one person came to your sets, you're still changing a life. Like that's incredible. And that speaks to putting the ego to the side, right? Because so many times we're like, oh, the set got canceled, or there's only 5 people in the crowd, or whatever. But those are 5 people that's lives could be literally changed forever. You don't know. Or that could be 5 people that go tell 5 friends about this insane set that they saw of this guy that they hadn't heard of, but it was like literally transformational. And then those 5 people go tell 5 more people each, and then that's 25 people who start listening to that music, and then all their lives are changed. And again, it's that ripple effect. So that's really cool that you're able to kind of like put that ego to the side and say, hey, what am I here for? Like what is coming back to that intention, it seems like.
And this is kind of what has like fostered my 2026 direction with it all, of like trying to like launch a community and like give people this like ultimately deeper experience with it. Because a lot of times when someone sees you at a show, it's such a fleeting moment. And very rarely do you like capture their attention longer than the amount of time that they like witness you on stage. But every once in a while, like you do get people that will reach out to you after and like tell you like how much that impacted them and all these things. And I kind of wanted to create this space to be able to like continue to develop those relationships with individuals like over time, because I was like realizing like, hey, these moments that you're on stage, or even if you have a social media post do really well, like these are such fleeting experiences and they don't tend to last. But like if you can invite this place to have deeper connections with individuals, and like even if it's not millions of people, but however many it ends up being, and like give them a real authentic experience, that those are the things that are going to like keep a career alive or keep momentum alive for you and your dream, not just this, right? Because bookings are fleeting, social media is fleeting, but like community experiences, I think, tend to like really live on. And that's really like
Mm.
inspiring, kind of like the future direction of where I want to go with everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your community that you've created is so amazing to like watch flourish and just continue to grow. And I love also that on social media you've started talking more about like this shift to AI and how people are like, "Oh, well, AI music is coming about and like it's going to take away, the true art." And you're like, "No, like humans are gonna be here. We're gonna be creating shit that is not AI. Like it's very clearly not AI and it has soul to it." And I love that you are kind of like coming at it from all angles to literally help humanity. And I think that it really shows how important it is to you to just show up, right? To show up on social media, to show up in your communities, to show up on stages, to show up through your music. I'm curious, through this progression to like where you are now in like not just producing or DJing or, you know, being a creator or being a healer, are there times that you have come overcome like really intense limiting beliefs or blocks, or is that something that you feel like you're still overcoming?
I mean, it's a natural thing. I think that no matter what you're doing, like you're always going to face those sort of things. And I've noticed that like each time you make a progression in where you're going, you kind of hit like a new tier of limiting beliefs that you need to like smash through to get to the next one. Like a lot of times if I get a big booking for an event, I start immediately getting self-doubts about it. Like, do I, am I good enough for this, whatever? Or the other one I think that is a really big one is like always like, is this my peak? Like, is this going to be the
Mm.
last cool thing I ever get to do? Like, is this where it ends for me? But then I think it's just like a matter of knowing that you're going to have these like swings naturally. And so I study a lot of like alchemy and old universal laws, if you will. And one of them is like the law of like rhythm and momentum, right? So if you think about the ocean, it's like waves are crashing in and then they're going out and then they're crashing in and it's like everything in life is following the same thing. Like if you look at your bank account, it's like sometimes you're up, sometimes it's like, oh wow, I spent a lot. Oh, and everything in life is like following that same universal law. So with your creative passions and momentum too, like you have times when you're the talk of the town, and then you have times when no one cares about you. So it's like just knowing like when you're down, you're not going to stay there, and when you're up, you're also not going to stay there either, and just naturally letting like the cycles take them as they go, and enjoying like whatever exact moment you're in at this time.
I love the way that you phrase that. Is there any like specific advice that you would give to someone when you are in those like crash times when quote unquote no one cares what you're doing? Um, are there like certain practices or certain mantras or anything that you typically use to kind of like pull yourself out of that? Like, oh my God, no one cares.
The main one I've been using my whole like kind of life now is like everything is working out best case scenario and I live in
Mm.
abundance. And it seems like the more I just adopt that on a daily basis, the more it just happens. Like I can remember vivid times when like a job just ends like, unexpectedly and then the next day like you get offered an opportunity or something pops up. And so just like holding that like frequency of everything is working out best case scenario and not being too attached to the specifics of it all, I think just like allows it naturally to reveal the path to reveal itself instead of like trying to just like shine your light everywhere and hopefully find the path on your own.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I heard this quote from someone long time ago that said, worrying is just betting against yourself. And it's so true because the human mind wants to immediately, like you said, if a job ends, immediately be like, oh my God, where's the money going to come? What am I going to do with my day? Da, 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 and just going and going and going. And I love the refrain of like, everything's working out in my highest favor. It's going to be fine. And another concept that I've heard more recently is like God, the universe, source, like whatever higher power you believe in believes in you. Like it's not there to watch you crumble. It's actually there to support your soul contract that you came to this earth with. It's there to like help guide you, and you signed up for this. You went to God or source and you're like, "Hey, I want to be a well-rounded soul. I'm going to come down to earth." And like God's like, "You sure? Like you want to experience this and this and this and this?" And you're like, "Yep, I want to experience that." And then you come down, and then our human brain goes, wow, like I don't want to deal with this, like a spoiled little kid I think of all the time. And we have to remember that we are always supported. Like source God, like always trying to guide us on the path that we asked for. And sometimes we go a little bit off path that we had planned on as a soul. And that's just part of the human experience. We knew that was going to happen. So, but I think at the same time, it can be hard to trust that process and hard to remember that. Or for some people, they have not yet remembered that we are a soul in a body and that we chose some of these experiences to grow and to learn and to be well rounded. Anyway, little tangent.
I can add a little more to that tangent too. So another really like helpful practice is just the practice of optimal imagination, which is something I learned in energy medicine, which sounds really basic when you think about it, but how many of us go into situations like expecting the worst to happen or like just going in with the doubts? And so it's just always trying to hold the vision of like when you're doing something that the good part of it is going to happen. And
Mm.
this goes a long way. Like if I go to the airport, I'm not expecting, oh man, there's going to be a long line at TSA. I'm never going to make my flight. It's always just like, oh, it's going to just walk right through. And, oh, the parking spot's going to be there for me. And like the more that you just like in all of your scenarios are expecting the best case thing to happen, they tend to just keep having it, it seems like. And that's also just being like when something doesn't work out, like not being attached to it, because it's also usually just a redirection to like where you're actually supposed to go. It's like, oh, cool, the parking spot wasn't going to be there, and then you go around town or whatever, and you end up at this beautiful park, and the sunset's hitting a fountain perfectly or something. So it's just trying to like always just trust the process of it, but also expecting the best things to unfold for you. The other practice I want to add into is like just trying to get into a daily meditative rhythm. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but I think even if you sit down for 5 to 10, I usually do 7 minutes a day of just sitting in silence. It's like you process so much in that moment. And I think it's just always the more that you can be present and not allowing like past or future expectations to be weighing on you, you can also just have more space to just like do what you actually want to do on a day to day.
Yeah. Meditation has completely changed my life in like more ways than I could ever explain. And it's one of those practices that to this day, I mean, I flow in and out of. I'll go through a spurt where I am meditating 40 minutes every single night before sleep. And then I'll have days where I'm like lucky if I get in 5 minutes during the day. But at the same time, it's one of those things that you can always come back to. It's completely free. Like you literally just have to be. And yes, that can be really uncomfortable, but I feel like meditation and breath are the two things that you hear everyone talking about. You're just like, yeah, okay, breath work, meditation, like, got it. But there's a reason. There's a reason that everyone's talking about this because they are completely free. Like, you don't have to have someone guiding you through these things. You can do it completely on your own. You have everything within you that you need. And I think that more people should be tapping into it. I hate saying like should, but it's true because it really is like so transformational when you actually dedicate yourself to a simple practice like that. Even, yeah, 3 minutes a day, even.
Yeah, anytime at all. It's
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. I would love to hear, like, from your experience, what do you feel like maybe is like the most transformational, pivotal moment in maybe the last 5 years for you where you were like, oh shit, like, I'm really doing it?
I would say I was actually thinking it's funny you asked this question. I thought about it randomly this morning for some reason.
That's so
So
funny.
right, I don't know. Yeah, I guess if my future self knew this moment was going to come. But so I think about like before I started music, I was like, doing pretty well creatively. I was like throwing a lot of events, but I also worked at a bank at the time. And that was very much not in alignment with the life that I wanted to live. And this was in like 2018, 19, 2020. And so I remember this pivotal moment where I was behind the teller line at the bank and I had this thing and it would have been a great career. They had free healthcare, a pension. They saw big things for me. They wanted me to do this. But I remember vividly having this moment one day where I was sitting there on an average Tuesday or whatever, and I was like, I had this just like split, like timeline split, and I was like, if I keep working here, I'm gonna be 45, and I'm gonna think back to this moment and what it would have been like if I would just have quit my job and like went for the things that I wanted to do. And so at that point, I gave them like a 1 month notice that I was going to quit for whatever reason. I just wanted to be a chill guy and give them more than enough time to fill my role. But shortly after that is when the pandemic actually happened. So I remember everyone, like my parents texting me and everyone being like, don't quit, like ask them if you can stay at this job. And I was like, I just got to go forward with it. And I ended up just like quitting and just like everything has like continued to just unfold. Like, at that point, like the government was handing out free money. So I basically got a government scholarship to just learn how to produce music. And I did like a yoga teacher training and a breathwork training and continue to expand on my healing arts. And then I've just continued to land jobs that are like more in alignment with the way that I actually want to live. So it's like now I make more money than I probably make than if I wanted to work at the bank. But I have like a virtual job, like talking to people that I love all the time. And it's just like I just think back to that specific moment of if I would have held on to the fear or doubts or scarcity and stayed working there, how drastically different this moment would be like right now.
Wow, how cool to have that specific moment to look back on. and to kind of visualize that timeline split. And I love that because I always think of the human experience as like a choose your own adventure type of game where it's like, yeah, you could go either way. Like one way is not good or bad, it's just another decision. And that way you might get another opportunity to go back to the other path, but you might not. You might keep going the other way. But I think ultimately, as long as we're being intentional and conscious about it, we will always get to that ultimate purpose, that ultimate like dharma. And I think that that's a really cool part of human existence. And it can be really frustrating because sometimes if we do keep choosing this other path, we're getting further and further away from it. And it gets harder to get back to where you were or where you wanted to be or where you feel like you're supposed to be. So that's really cool. Thanks for sharing.
And something I want to offer too for those that might feel like they're in a similar situation is I think it's like I don't want you to hear that story and be like, yeah, I'm quitting my job today and then have like no necessary like plan of action. I think it's really important, like say you have a creative dream or whatever it may be, to still like not quit your job because at the end of the day, like living in scarcity and not being able to meet your basic needs, like you're not going to have the energy to put towards like what you actually love. But at that point, I was like such a split reality where I was like doing so many events, doing all these things, had a lot of momentum in what I wanted to move towards that it didn't feel as like scary to like leave this job behind. And so you'll get to like a certain point where you will have that natural like timeline split and it's like, okay, I need to let go of this other thing. But some people will hear that story and they're like, yeah, let me quit my job today. And I've never even start like say they want to be a DJ. It's like they've never even picked up a controller before. It's like you're not going to be a world touring DJ tomorrow. So like practice DJing while you can, while you still have the job, and then eventually you'll get that moment where you can like leave those things that don't serve you behind. So that's like
Mm-hmm.
what I love about like manifestation. It's like keep showing up, keep putting the work in towards where you want to go, and then you'll have the natural momentum where those other things will fall away. And a lot of us just immediately go to like, oh, I want to be a DJ. Let's quit everything else. And it's like, wait, there's more to it than that part, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that there's also a lot to be said for taking that leap when you feel it. Like if you truly deeply are like, I don't know, I'm feeling called and like I don't 100% know what my backup plan is, but for some reason this feels really, really big on my heart. I would say sit with it, like make sure that it truly does make sense and not to the point of like over analyzing and over rationalizing, because sometimes that can be really detrimental to listening to your intuition, because that's when the ego comes in. But making sure that, okay, is this an intuitive hit or is this like impulse of like, oh yeah, like, he said that he just quit his job, so I'm just going to quit my job. But if it is something that's kind of been like pinging you on and you hear this now and you're like, okay, maybe this is the time to do it. Like, absolutely, there's something so big to be said for taking that leap. And I have done it time and time again. I tend to go in this cycle of working 100% for myself and then getting in this scarcity mindset and then working for someone else and getting like, a W-2 position for a period of time. And then I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? This is not in alignment. And then I go back and then I work for myself like for another year or however long. And then I get scared again. And then I go back to working for someone else. And now I'm in this period of like, no, I'm not going to go work for someone else. Like, I finally feel like I broke that cycle of even when that scarcity tries to creep in, I recognize like what I am doing and my purpose and how I want to show up in the world. And every time that I have a position where I'm working for someone else personally, I'm not able to show up fully as the version of myself that I want to in this lifetime. And so, all of that to say, like, really learn to tune into that intuition and really sit with it and recognize like what's intuition, what's ego, while still balancing, because we are human. Like, if you were purely listening to the intuition, sometimes it's going to make your human existence a little bit harder. Because not saying it wouldn't work out, but like Austin was saying about if you hear this episode and you're like, oh my God, he just quit his job because he saw this timeline split. And so I'm just going to go do that. If that is an intuitive hit for you, but you have literally no plan, you've never even, for the DJ example, you've never even touched a DJ controller, it might make your experience getting from A to B really fucking hard versus having a little bit of a plan. Will you get there? maybe, yeah. If you truly believe in yourself and you truly are like manifesting that for yourself, you might be able to. But I think that we have to remember that we have one foot in the spiritual realm, one foot in this human existence, and we can't go too far with one without the other.
Yeah, it's a really good way to put it. And I always love to like because like big passion of mine is like helping people become their most creative self that they can. And I feel like if it's a really important project to you creatively or for your sole purpose, you'll find time to do it, whether you have 10 jobs or none,
Yep.
And if you can't find time to do it now, then you might never actually like, actually want to do the thing. And so even if you're spending, 20 minutes a day working on your art or an hour, I honestly try to spend an hour a day making music. And it's like that alone, you make so much momentum by just giving yourself a short amount of time consistently. And so if you feel like you're a person that wants to do a lot of like these different things, just find where you can fit in an hour a day, 30 minutes a day into your already busy schedule to give yourself time to dedicate to this thing that you want to develop.
That's a really good strategy for making sure that it is something on your heart and it's not just like the ego talking. That was actually going to be my next question is like, do you have a strategy for that? And that sounds like it right there of like, if it is important to you, if it's a priority to you, you will make it happen. And that goes for anything in life, not even just creative projects or like something, that's on your heart. Because I mean, I think back to when I very first started coaching in like the wellness field and autoimmune, and I had like three jobs at a time, and I was still coaching people, and I loved it. And it fired me up, and it felt easy, even though I was working my ass off like so many hours a week. So that's a really good example of if it is a priority to you, if it is on your heart, you can start out building it into like your life now and then eventually getting to the point where it makes sense to quit the job or to do that full time.
Yeah, it's been a really so for the company I work for, I'm very fortunate that they're all very mindful individuals. And one of the practices that I've learned from them, so I used to just be a spontaneous person with no schedule and just let life take me wherever it wanted to go. But one of the practices that they like walk us through and the clients is like you start off setting like big goals or desires that you have for yourself. You get clear on why those are actually important to you, and then you make sure to put time on your day-to-day basis to actually start to work towards it, right? Because if I'm just like, hey, I want to be a big festival DJ, that's like a very fleeting thing. And if I'm not getting that, it's like you can feel like, I'm not making any momentum. But then when I peel back the layers further on why that goal is actually important to me, it's like easier for me to move towards it on a day-to-day basis and see the micro wins and the momentum that I'm making. And then most importantly, what can I do this week, next month, this next quarter to actually move towards that goal that I have for myself? So I've tried to really structure my day so that before I do work for anybody else whatsoever, it's like I'm reading books, I'm journaling, I'm doing some movement practice, making art for a little bit before I check my work email. So you might be able to find like some sort of momentum of like, these are the actions that I really need to take that are important to me to move towards this vision of this life that I have, that I want to live, and then just finding some time to kind of like sprinkle that in on a week to week basis so you know that they're getting met.
Yeah, and just how much you will grow in that process versus if you were to just skyrocket, right? Um, a lot of times I feel like people who literally just skyrocket, let's say like someone goes crazy viral on social media, then what happens? Their interactions crash, their content starts getting different because they can't like uphold what it is that they accidentally built. um, but I think that the same thing goes when it's something that you're so passionate about and maybe you really do want to build a career or a business out of. And we need to recognize like something I always get like metaphors, like spirit talks to me in metaphors a lot. And so as you were talking about that, what I saw was going on a hike. I was specifically picturing like the Northwest and how like everything's so green and lush and there's like boulders covered in moss and all of this. And when you're walking, you're trying to get to the top of the hike, especially I feel like here I'm so much more present during the walk of getting to the top. I'm just like, oh my god, I need to pet this moss, oh my god, I need to like pick this fern, oh my god, I need to stroke this tree, like, and it's enjoying that process. And then it's that much sweeter when you get to the top and you're like, oh my God, I had this amazing experience on the trail. I took my time. I really like took in all of the scents and the sights and the feels and all of it. And then I get to the top and then there's this beautiful view and like, oh my God, I'm so blessed. Versus if you're just like putting blinders on and you're just walking up the trail to try to get to the top. And then you get to the top, you're like, okay, yeah, like pretty view, I guess. And then you just go right back down.
Oh, sure. Yeah, appreciating the whole spectrum of the journey to the top.
hmm Well, I am so grateful that you were able to come on this podcast. And I, again, am just so grateful for the spaces that you create and the messages that you put out into the world. And I can't wait to see like how this evolves for you. To close it out, I would love to hear if there is any specific mantras or anything that you would want to leave someone with if they were to think of like one sentence or one mantra from you as Ace on Earth, what would that be?
I think the big thing, if anything, that I could leave a person with, and I love to ask people this question. It's like, if obligations weren't a thing, if money wasn't a thing, if like any of your basic human needs weren't a thing, what would you actually be doing with your
Mm.
day-to-day human existence? And then finding a way to make that happen for yourself more consistently right now.
Oh, I love that. And like you mentioned right before this, those micro steps to get there. Like what can you do today to start building that momentum towards that? That's so beautiful.
And I,
Thank you
and I
for
love to
sharing.
think like to take it imagery one step further too. It's like picture that then as like the mountaintop, and then every day you're just taking a few steps, petting some nice moss along the way to get to that vision that you have for yourself.
I love it. Thanks for working my moss in there.
Nice, nice.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming on the Soul Light Reflections podcast. And where can people find you on social media, or how can they collaborate with you or be part of your communities?
Yeah, I Ace on Earth on all the places. I kind of have exclusively left TikTok behind, but I know that's how we became friends. But I'm still on Instagram. I have a website, aceonearth.com. And then I do have a community called Evolving Conscious, where we're all just, sharing our art, sharing practices to stay on our highest light, if you will. And so, yeah, if you want to join, just follow me on Instagram. I'll send you the info.
Amazing. And as a nice little treat for anyone listening, I would love to introduce Ace on Earth's music to you. So we'll put a little clip so that you can hear some of the beautiful frequencies that we've been talking about.